Hey, what is going on YouTube? My name is Tom, and I'm here to show you how to do sourdough. Okay, so sourdough is kind of like one of those interesting ones just because the entire yeast concept hept is a pre-ferment. And sourdough gets its name roughly just because the type of pre-ferment that it uses, which has flour and water with yeast added in, and most of them um, fermented for a period of time. Um, but all of it is made by this little guy right here, which is called a sour starter, which is entirely wild yeast that is in open air, and is pretty much the thing that makes fruits and vegetables all smell fermented and sour. So anyway, hey, with that being said, and I've got pretty much all my ingredients right here already scaled for what I'm doing, which is my bulk flour, water, which is to liquefy it, yeast, as I mentioned before, and salt, which controls the yeast and tightens up the dough. So before doing this, I'm just going to explain pretty much what this entire thing is with recipe wise, which I'm going to say percentage because that makes it so much easier to re-alter her, because it's just much easier in that point. Right. So, the total baker's percentage, which is just your flour, is always 100%. And so your final percentage-wise will be higher. So, final percent of this has 210.7%, which, if you're trying to find out flour-wise, guys, all you just gotta do is have your final weight. Let's say you're trying to do 700 grams, which is simple in this point in time. I'm to explain, because that's the total amount of what this is. So what you do is do 700 grams, and you divide that by 2.107, and you get 330 grams pretty much for your flour weight. So that's your 100%. The next ones, which is your water, which is 39.3%, and bread flour, which is your sourdough is your 39.3%. Your water is 68.7%, and your salt is 2.7%. So all you just gotta do with that is times your 330 grams by point whatever your percentage is, and that's your amount. And if you add all those together, you should get extremely close to 700 grams. And it's not going to be 100% accurate because you can't. A lot of these are point stuff, so I just round to the nearest gram. So, well, that's pretty much it for how you get this. So, with that being said, what I'm doing this is by basic hands. So before that, I recommend having an old shirt or something that you're not going to be heartbroken if it gets a little dirty. Clean cut nails, because once this stuff gets under your nails, it's hard to get off. And also, if you're wearing nail polish, to put gloves on, because because the nail polish itself will chip into it, or if you're wearing acrylics or something, it's going to fall in the dough, which you don't want to eat it then. So, with that being said, all you need with this is pretty much large bowl, a cheapo scale which registers grams, because that if you're a little off on your estimates, it's not that big of a problem. And also, it's a universal whole thing, so you're not going to find that many classic recipes out there that is not in grams that is from other countries, which a lot of bread dough is from other countries, and we just brought it over here. So with that being said, let's start kneading this dough together. So what you're going to want to do first is put your water, your sour starter, and your bread flour in the same bowl, and start combining it. Okay. I recommend doing those three in that order. So all that's really left for flour is a ring around the bowl, not on the bottom, not stuck somewhere, but right there. So pretty much I just do this till it's about homogenized and stuff, and it feels like it is. A lot of this is really just feel, so if this doesn't come out correctly to how I explain it, it's just something that maybe you need to knead it or do something a little more. So pretty much all of it's in here. So combining it a little already, it's gonna look a little odd in the beginning, and that's just because you don't have gluten developed fully yet. So with that being done already, that's our homogenized concept. So once this starts getting better, you're going to see it look nicer and start picking up stuff off the bowl. You know, like excess flour or a little bit of the stuff that didn't get humped together with it. So I'm just gonna keep doing that while we talk. So a few of these steps I can't exactly show because this takes several hours to do, and after that it normally sits overnight, as classic sourdough. So with that in mind, I did prepare a sourdough the exact same way, and right now is on my stove. Coming back to room temp, because once you let it rest overnight, you gotta let it come out and return to room temp for about an hour or so. So that being said, as I forget to do this beforehand. Just putting my oven at 495, which is your beginning temp with this. This dough made for bread is pretty much one of those that you need to really bake off at very high temps and everything. So, as you can see now, dough's looking a lot better than when we started. And once this comes and gets to where I want it to be, I'm going to let it rest for about 20 minutes, then combine back in the salt. So that's going to tighten him up some, and once that happens, we're going to let him rest with a warm, damp cloth over the top of him, and he's going to sit like that for about 2 hours. Once the hour mark hits, we are going to fold him, which pretty much all folding is up, down, left, right, pull up. That's all the folding is. Think of it any way you want. North, south, east, west, up, down, turn around, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, blah, blah, blah. Anything that sticks. Hex. That it works with you. So, honestly, if you're doing this, though, with a larger batch, I kind of recommend you use a mixer with this. Yes. But if you're doing something like once a week or stuff, you don't need the mixer so much. So, with that being said, this guy's feeling like he's about good for her just resting for the 20 minutes. And this is obviously why I say, hey, have your nails nicely trimmed, and also, make sure you are not wearing nail polish or acrylics or something like that. But on a side note with this, once you do this and stuff, I kind of recommend you get the dough off your hand within like 10-15 minutes before it starts to dry off, just because once it does, it's gonna hurt coming off. So, with that being said, take my dough off. And while we're doing this, so in short, after he has rested, had salt in and everything, next what you gotta do is knead him a little, which is just folding in on a floured surface. Which, on that note, if you're grabbing flour, I recommend doing non-bleached and non-brumated for this. As bleaching, if you're doing sourdough, it kills the bacteria strand, and that is not good for what you're doing. And brumation, there's actually connections with that and cancer. So that's kind of why I don't want to use it. But with that being said, we had your final product cooked after it sits overnight. It kind of looks like this, which I will say right now, I recommend you to grease your pan or something like that. This is the first time I'm actually doing it, but in my past experience, I had not greased my pan. I just simply put flour on it, and it stuck after her taking it out, which sucks, in short. So, well, pretty much after you're done with that and everything, our oven is getting up to temp now. Probably should have done that beforehand. But, with that done, next what we would have to do is, since our bread's nice and set up now, is shove it in the oven, and after scoring it, which is just to release air from it. What happens is, while it bakes off in the oven, and all the water and stuff starts to dehydrate from it, so it needs somewhere to go. If you do not hot score it, it will find any spot it can to come out. So it might crack down the center, it might crack on the side. You can't control it if that happens. The scoring cuts into the bread, making a soft spot where you know exactly where it's gonna go. You cut into it not large enough, you might have a problem. So, in short, it's roughly about half an inch, quarter of an inch, somewhere around that line. So, with that said, little score. And next one I'm going to show you is kind of a cool trick that I know. What happens is, you take a little stencil or something. This one just happened to be made out of paper and an X-Acto knife that I happen to have with a cutting board. So, one with that. And this is sticking on my paper. Why is he sticking? Okay. So, in short, what I would do with this is I get a little tea strainer, and I would flour him, which I'm actually not going to do now because this is getting very... Well, now it's ruined. Okay. Normally, you would be fine with that. However, for some reason, it just didn't want to do it with me. So, just kind of help this guy out a little more. A lot of this literally is just attempt, trial and error. As you see right now, that's exactly the reason why. So, just to kind of explain what would be done is I would just take this tea strainer and I would go over it, hit with the slightest touch. And as it bakes off, what's going to happen is that's going to stay on. Little tea right there. Kind of explain what that does. Now, that was obviously a cheap one. So, if you want to do it out of cardboard, you're good to do that if you can. But with that being said, I've already explained shortly on how to do all this stuff. So next, what I'm going to tell you about is what happens when we bake it. So we start our oven off at 495, which I already explained a little on why. So with that done, what I would do next is put in a separate pan and on the bottom below where I would put my bread head, and let that warm up a bit. Then once I load the bread in, I drop the oven to 465. What this does is it jumps the temp in the bread, and it forces the bacteria in it, the yeast strand, and whichever you want to call it, to oven spring is the classic term. What this actually means is the yeast inside the dough is making a last-ditch effort to work its stuff, and the amount of carbon dioxide being produced in it has bulked up, and that's where a lot of that excess air bubbles come from. So the pan the bottom. What I do there is I take a couple of ice cubes and I put them in there. Here, if that's done, you should hear a very big amount of steam, or a little bit of water. What this does is it makes the outer crust more crispy, and it gives a nicer bite into, or a better cut into, whichever you're doing. Which end result tastes really good coming out. So, we just put the ice or water in there for about 3-4 minutes. And once that happens, pull it out. I just run cold water over it just to let it rest in the sink, and then I keep the bread in there for about 23 minutes or so, until it's got a nice brown color on it. Feels like it lost about 25% of its water weight, which you feel it going in and you feel it coming out. You're going to feel a huge difference. And it just feels done. And in about an hour or so, it should be ready to serve. It should be nice and cool. You cut into it the second it comes out. Chances are your bread's gonna feel a little like it's damp. So you shouldn't take it out and bite into it the second and it's done. That's a no-no. So my oven should be pretty close to it. So let's see here. Extra pan. And we'll let them heat up for a little bit. So with that being said, I had pretty much what the sour starter is as considering I didn't speak much of it, other than it's made of natural yeast. It's, in short, or very unique because where it's from, whether it's across the state or in the same town but just a street over, it's always going to have a very unique taste. Maybe it has a beerish taste. Maybe it's got a cider taste to it. It's very finicky of its taste. Either way, it gives a very nice taste to the bread, and that's why everyone is very fancy on it. Yeah. So to make it is just simply half bread flour, half water, and you do it for a couple of days. The first few days are a little big, but After that, it should be fine and everything. And you just feed it every day, and you should be good with it. If you do miss a day of feeding with it, it's not that big of a deal. Just make sure you make the next one. So that's pretty much it. If you found this video helpful with baking, bread, feel free to give me a like in the comment section, or if something happened with it that you're not exactly fully sure what happened, and give me a comment, and I'll try and give you my best opinion on what happened, and kind of give you a general guideline on where to go next. And if there's anything, if I get enough people who like and state they want to know a little more on how to make the sour starter, I'll do a separate video on how to create the base, what's so important about the first few days, and also just how to store it, since you can store it out in open air or in your fridge, which you don't have to feed it if it's in the fridge. So, thanks and goodbye.